Today I want to talk about setting expectations. Hello and welcome. Today I want to talk about setting expectations, both as a player and a DM. More so as a DM, but also I'll bring up some stuff about as a player. So what do I mean by setting expectations? In a post recently I said something about DMs trying to be too many things to too many people. And let's talk about what I mean by that. A lot of times, a DM will start a campaign. Sometimes they're just desperate to get players. They'll take anybody that wants to come into the group. They don't set expectations of how they run a game and how they expect players to, what's the best word I can use, behave during gameplay. And they end up being unhappy because things are happening that they don't want to see happening in their game. And let's go ahead and be honest. When a DM is running a game, it is their game as well as the players. Yes, I've said many times before, the purpose of the DM is to help the players create their story. But if you have players whose story is not what you enjoy, how can I put it, reading, you won't enjoy running the game. So what a DM really should do, instead of just putting out a blanket invite and anybody, the first people to come, take them because, oh my God, I have to fill my table, I'm so worried about it, you should do this. Once you have a list of people who have indicated an interest to play in your game, you should have a written list of rules, guidelines, and expectations for them to read. So, what might be on there? Let me give you some examples of some things that I put on my own. So, the first thing I usually put on there is Rule 0. What's Rule 0? Essentially, during gameplay, the DM is always right, even when they're not. And the reason I put that on there is I prefer that if the GM is doing something that is a discrepancy in the rules or against the rules, which really, let's be honest, the rules are a suggestion in a lot of cases. You'll have players that maybe under a DM have been allowed to do things a certain way, and that's not how you run your game. So I always establish that the DM is always right, even when he isn't, because there are a couple of things that may happen. There may be plot armor that doesn't allow the group to kill that NPC at the beginning of the game, even if you have somebody that gets lucky and crits out, because that NPC is necessary at the end of the game. So you will fudge the rules and let them survive. Now, the players may complain, they may want to get into a rules argument, and the rule at my table is always, we don't debate rules at the table. If you have a problem with what I'm doing at the table, discuss it with me after the session, but don't waste players' time. If you do that all the time, I mean, recently at my Wednesday table, I had someone that did that all the time. It created a problem where we could get one combat done a night, and I removed him from my table. And what that's meant for the table is we're getting 2, 3, or more combats done a night, and everybody's like, oh my God, things move so much quicker without them there. So everyone's enjoying their gameplay more by not having this player at the table, and it was beneficial to me because I was losing my temper with this player because I had had enough, and no one was enjoying themselves while he was at the table. So we removed him from the table, and now everybody is just amazed at how quickly things go. So don't let your players argue with you at the table. I mean, that is the very first expectation that all DMs should set down, even rookies. It doesn't matter if you don't know all the rules. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake. The players have to live with it and move on. If they're going to argue with you, they shouldn't be at your table. So don't let that stuff happen. Establish up front Rule zero, that you're always right, even when you're not. Now, another rule that I like to put into place is that I really think that players should build characters that fit into the setting that you're playing. And what do I mean by that? Let's say somebody sets up this massive background and, they want to be an undead slayer and all this kind of stuff, but there are no undead in your game or no undead in the book that you're running. You should not have to change what you're running or make special considerations for a single player because it's not fair to everybody else. So establish with them, and before you even start running, let them know what you're running. Say, ask everyone, what do you plan to build? What is your concept for your character? And if somebody comes in with something that is that undead slayer, you can say to them, well, there are not going to be any undead in there for you to slay, so you may want to rethink your character, or just accept the fact that a lot of the stuff you're doing will be useless in this campaign. And if they can't live with that, there are other tables. They can move on. So don't adjust your campaign for a player that's not willing to play within your setting. You shouldn't have to change a setting to make a player happy. The player has ultimately infinite options to build a character. They don't have to play that one character in this campaign. They can save it for another campaign where it's appropriate. Now, another one that I will use almost all the time, and it's because of over years of experience, I've found that people that play these type of characters always play them as psychotic. So one of my main rules that I have is I don't allow evil characters. Not lawful evil, no evil characters, because they always end up being played lawful, insane, neutral, insane, chaotic, insane. And it's not really the type of character I want to see at the table. I've had one campaign we've played where we played an evil campaign and we were all experienced players and we didn't have any insanity going on. Yes, we were evil. A lot of them were selfish, but like the way my selfishness manifested when I was playing, I played a rogue. Yeah, I'd go, all right, let me check for traps. I'll go in the room and see if there's anything there. If I found something I really liked, and there was a pile of magic items, I might keep that and give the other items to everyone else because that's something my character wanted and needed because it was really a rogue item. It wouldn't have helped anybody else. Also, I mean, the path to my evil for my character was it became a slaver. And we all had these weird things that everybody was doing, but that was the campaign. And the benefit of that was my character became relatively wealthy. So I would buy unlimited magic items for the members of the party who couldn't afford it, and then they could go in front of me and I was safe. But I didn't portray it that way. I just was providing what they needed because it benefited the party, and yeah, it benefited me a little bit more. But most of the time, I don't see evil players cooperating with other players in the party. I see them robbing the party, trying to kill in the party, going and just being a psycho and killing people in bars for no reason, killing guards. I mean, these are all things that it's just stupid to do, and I've seen it too many times. I don't allow it in my games. So if you're not comfortable, regardless of what other YouTubers saying, oh, you should let them play evil characters, if you, as a DM, are not comfortable with evil characters in your campaign, don't allow it. The people that want to play evil can always find another table or another game. So if you're not comfortable, don't do it. Players, if you propose this to your GM and they say, I'm sorry, I don't allow it in my game, don't create another character. Play it the exact same way as an evil character, but claim it's a neutral character because that's not neutral. Neutral has balance. You play good, a little naughty, a little bad, a little good. You wouldn't be an angel. You wouldn't be a demon. but too many people try to play neutral as an excuse to get away with doing nothing but evil, and I don't allow that at the table either. So, and I do, this is another thing that I set for expectations. Alignment is not a suggestion, it's a guideline for how your character is played. It's not fluid either. Let's say you're a holy character. You're a paladin of a life god or a light god, and you are constantly murder hoboing. Don't be surprised in my campaigns if suddenly the powers that that deity has granted you to use for good are stripped from you because you're being nothing but an evil jackass. So I set those expectations. I let people know that alignments are not suggestions, they are a guideline for how to play your character. Evil characters, and when I establish this, they think, oh, well, evil means crazy. No, evil means you're willing to stretch the limits of normal moral boundaries to reach your goals. It doesn't mean that you're just a psychopath that kills for fun. It may mean that, yeah, you're the jackass that waterboards somebody to get information instead of using persuasion or spells and stuff like that. You are willing to do things that others aren't, but you're not crazy and a total murder hobo. So, and that's why I don't let people play evil, because they haven't learned in a lot of cases the difference there. Now, one of the other things that I usually set, and this is up to the DM, not the players, if they don't want to see people min-maxing or playing munchkins, they can establish that rule. If you don't want, as a DM, to have to pump up your monsters to the extent where they're not getting killed by that one guy who's a min-maxer, and it ultimately results in multiple other characters in the party being murdered every time, then tell that player they need to retool the character, that you don't allow min-maxing, munchkins, optimizing, which is nothing but mincing words, in your campaign. Tell them to build a character that's fun to play, that's useful for more things than doing damage, or find another table to play. Set those expectations and let players know you don't allow that. Because let's face it, I mean, quite often in 5th edition, all I hear is, oh, I'm not having any fun as a DM because I can't, I can't even put the players in jeopardy. They come in, they destroy my character, the NPCs. Some of that is because the DM may not know how to pump the NPC up so it's not in jeopardy constantly and can kill those annoying characters. But I mean, it's also part of the system. It's really difficult. I mean, I believe as a DM that a boss fight should result in possibly 1 or 2 deaths in a full party, because there should be jeopardy involved. And it's difficult to do in 5th edition the way death rules work. If you're playing a system like Pathfinder, where going below your con in your hit points, you go negative con and you're dead, yeah, there's jeopardy there for those players. If in a system like GURPS, there's jeopardy for the players. 5th edition, not so much. But there should be jeopardy on both sides, or at the very least, equal risk of massive damage. And if you have that one player and you don't want to see that happening so that you do potentially kill other players, let min-maxers know that that is not welcome at your table as a play style. And they either have to abide by it or leave. It's up to you. It's not up to the players. Like I said, another rule is no murder hobos. I don't, and I never have, played with murder hobos. If I have a group that is doing that, I have literally sent enough guards to take a party out and put them in jail if they're murder hoboing all the guards in a city. And then those characters' arcs are finished, because I may execute them, I may jail them for life. And let's face it, without thieves' tools, without the ability to get out of jail, they're there forever. And I'll put them in a max security prison if I have to, and tell them this character is done permanently. If you don't want murder hobos playing at your table, correct it straight up front. Let them know. Put it in writing. Tell them murder hobo groups are not welcome at my table. Because, let's be honest, murder hobos are evil. So if you have the no evil thing, you should also have the no murder hobo groups because they are the same. Now, there are obvious rules that I've talked about in other videos that I'm going to say you should lay out because you're going to run into these players. Things like PvPing because someone didn't do what you wanted. Make sure that players know that's not allowed if you don't want it happening. And let them know that if you, I mean, personally, that's an egregious enough offense that I will remove someone from the table for doing it. So if you don't want people robbing, stealing from the party, killing the party, doing things that will otherwise cause discontent with all the other players at your table, let players know up front if they do that, they will be kicked from your table. These two are obvious. No sexual harassment of other players or innuendo, unless you're in a very tight-knit, close group, and maybe you have couples playing together and everyone understands this and they're okay with it. It really shouldn't be happening at the table. If you're not comfortable with that, let players know up front that won't be allowed. If you do it, you'll be removed. And it doesn't matter if you're a DM at a event where people have paid to play, or let's say you're a DM that, let's say you're running a Patreon and you're letting players come in for a certain dollar amount a month. You still have the right to establish the rules that will make everyone comfortable at the table. And let's face it, this type of behavior and activity will make players uncomfortable. They will make other players leave, and you don't have to, for a single player's happiness at the game table, let them get away with what they want. So establish up front what you won't allow. If you're not going to allow innuendo, sexual play, sexual harassment should never be allowed. If you're not going to allow any of that, let players know up front. That's an auto kick, and you've set their expectations. If they don't listen, kick them. You've gone ahead and done what you said you're going to do. Another thing that I put in there, which kind of goes with the other, no role-playing of sex with NPCs. If you don't want that at the table because maybe you have minors, maybe you just have people that are not comfortable, and let's face it, you don't know if someone's been a victim of sexual assault or something. So you may want to establish it as a rule in the first place because it would make them uncomfortable, and that's not the goal of running a table. So it's another thing you may want to think about adding. It's something I always require, and if somebody starts up, I'm like, you need to stop. If they refuse, they're gone. But that's about it for my rules. I mean, the only other rule is I want everybody to have fun within the limits that I set. Because I'm not, let's face it, all of these things are things that make it so I don't have fun at the table. If the GM is not having fun, no one is having fun. So it's not just a table for players, it's a table for everyone involved in the game, including the GM. And if they're not comfortable, they're not happy, there are things going on at the table that they think shouldn't be happening, but they let it go because, oh, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. That's a game that's not going to be any fun, and it's probably a DM that's not going to DM for very long. So don't allow players to railroad you into doing things you're not comfortable running or that you don't want to run. And establish your rules up front. If you set expectations, no one can complain when you say you can't do that because you've already stated up front, this is what I allow at the table, this is what's not allowed, and this is what will get you kicked immediately for. Then there are no surprises. It's not like you're springing it on somebody. Set your expectations up front. The players that say, oh, I don't want to play, are the ones you don't want at your table in the first place. So just remember, set expectations. You'll get the players that fit your game. And that's really what you want. And players, when a GM sets expectations out, you either know that they fit your game, your play style, or not. If they don't try to join that table and force your will on them because it's their right to kick you because it's their table. So that's it for today. GMs, just remember, you have to have fun the same as the players. So set your expectations. Make sure that you have a group that is all in tune with the same goals, the same play style, and you will have an awesome time. Don't let people, because you are desperate to have players come in that play something that you are not comfortable with, because you're not going to have fun. And that's not the point of GMing. You're there to have fun as well as everyone else. But that's it. Put your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Remember to subscribe and like and all that good stuff. And we'll see you next time.